Just started this off again. This becomes a little bit more of a geometric shape, even though it's been touched upon as far as cut one side and then split. But it has this projection if you go with the organic part and geometric part combination. So this curve repeats itself back on the side. I kind of have it hidden and projecting it just like a three-dimensional piece, almost like a piece of cake, piece of pie. But it does have a little bit of the texture here, so I'm going to try to get the thickness of that wood representing the cottonwood. And then the rings coming across this. So even if this is kind of starts off geometric with this kind of a perspective isometric piece, and just kind of shading it around those lines, shading it this direction, and then doing the same with the bark part of it, just to get some of the drawing started. Got my graphite down there. It kind of has that look already. So there's kind of the shape. Then beyond that, whether you use anything else, whether you smudge it, I'll just try it just to show it to you. There's a little bit of smudging in there. So since it's so much texture, so organic, even though it starts off with a geometric shape right there, everything then falls into place. So as I look in the front of this, this has the texture of this cutout, so you can kind of see the bark wrapped around. They're different shapes, but kind of the same idea as it wraps itself around there. And this can be a heavy line to it. And the inner part of the trunk, the inner part of the bark, I can give a line to. Can be segmented, broken up as it goes across to really give that accent. There's kind of some stain on there, not sure what that is. But as the split marks of the wood go in the opposite direction, have a couple ridges. When you guys see knots in the wood, that's kind of what that's coming from. And it kind of builds this up. So I can go right along this edge. I'm going to make this part the lighter part on the top. Switch it a little bit. So even as I go around this, I can still look the rings of the tree and just kind of accent it right along there just by pushing and flicking the pencil around. Find that edge there. And then the bark. So I have two samples of the bark kind of going down. As long as it's going in that direction, it just kind of segments itself as it goes down through there, breaks itself apart, connects itself, starts another ridge in there. And again, all seems haphazard, and some botanists, scientists say it's all planned as designed in there. So it's a pattern that you probably can't see overall. So see how that goes in there. And building that part up. So this part just going to darken a little bit on this side of it. And let it turn over. Leave a little piece around it there. And then at the opposite end, kind of the same thing, but a little less contrast, a little less detail, out of focus as it goes away from you on the paper. And again, really a textural piece. So taking a look at it from that direction, kind of light lines that go across. And then with your reference, again, once you get the general idea, zoom into it and really see what's in there. And it'll give you some other help. Whoops, right there. With that design. So it really gives you a nice, nice look to it. So you can kind of see, and there's really just nothing but texture on texture. Double texture. And some of these dark areas that you can really fill in. And again, once you get it shaded, you can still use other tools like your eraser to bring out some of the detail. But the part that's going behind, I have it on this gourd, leave a little bit of light space around it. kind of that ambient light that you might see even with a Photoshop file. A couple accents, but most of the detail right happening in here, and most of the contrast. So it's the closer, just keeping that in mind, the closer things are to the picture plane, and they're going to have much more items to look at. Just by blurring that background. A couple accent lines not only help, they do two things. They shade it, at the same time give the explanation of the texture. Even use a triangle on it. And again, if you smudge some of it either with a stump or with your finger, take an eraser, do the same thing there. Kind of bring out some of the line right there. But there's about 6, 7 pictures in there you can take from. Get yourself in there. Let's see what you do there. So there it is as a final piece. Overall drawing.